for joining us for this panel discussion co-hosted by the Houston Young Lawyers Association and the Houston Lawyer Referral Service. The theme of today is the benefits of joining the Houston Lawyer Referral Service, specifically for young lawyers. And before we get started with a brief overview of the program, followed by a panel discussion featuring some members of the referral service, I'd like to introduce the president of the Houston Young Lawyers Association, Alvin Adjay.
Thank you so much, Brooksie. And I won't take up too much of your time. I'm very excited. It's going to be a great panel and a lot of great discussions. And so I think, as I've said before, like, my focus has been on small and solo practices. And so we want to make sure we have a lot of programming, I think, that are addressing the needs of attorneys and people who are in those institutions in order for them to continue to grow their business, but also give back to the community. So I'm very excited for this talk today. And, thank you all for giving and volunteering your time for this discussion.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alvin. And next up in our introductions is Karen Ramsey, who serves as the Executive Director of the Houston Lawyer Referral Service. Karen, would you like to say a few words?
Good. Thank you all for attending. We'll have an opportunity for you guys to ask questions at the end. But if there's something that you think of later and you want to talk to me, or you just have any concerns that you want to share, please email me. My email is kramsey@HLRS.org. That's KRAMSEY@HLRS.org.
Perfect, and I'll share that in the chat box shortly for those of you who would like to jot it down. Moving into the first part of our program, I'd like to introduce President-elect of the Referral Service, Colin Pogge, who is a partner in the trial department of Gibbs and Bruns.
Thanks, Brooksie. Welcome, everybody. I want to give just a brief overview before we get to our panel members who are more interesting and more knowledgeable than I am about HLRS. So what you're going to hear from me is a summary of the program in general, what it covers, what it doesn't, and how you can become a member. So just big picture, if you're completely new to HLRS, let me just tell you that it's an organization that you can become a member of. Houston lawyers can become a member of HLRS. And HLRS it kind of serves as the administrative hub for its members, and that it receives requests on one hand for referrals for potential clients, screens them, does a lot of work, in matching up with the right lawyers. But then HLRS helps distribute them to its member lawyers across the Houston area. And that distribution process and how you get as a member your potential client depends on the practice area, and it depends on the geographical location too. HLRS has been around for over 60 years, well established in the Houston community. Most pertinent to those attending today, who I think are a lot of young lawyers or lawyers with smaller independent firms, there are some key benefits that HLRS can provide. And mainly, it gives a significant boost to two of the most basic needs and realities of any lawyer's practice. First, it can help you get clients. That's pretty important for any lawyer. And, it's a referral service, and the folks today will be able to talk more in detail about some of the nuances and specifics of the types of clients that come to you. But there is a systematic process for having clients that fit your interests and your experience and the practice areas that you want to get into, that can make it to your office, if you will. And you can then use those client referrals to build your client network. This isn't something where you are working for HLRS, you're a member of HLRS, and you can use the clients that are referred to you to build your client base by word of mouth, help you with your marketing of yourself and your firm. The other big thing is it can help you save money on expenses, another reality of any lawyer in their firm or practice. And that's because HLRS, they advertise on social media, put out Google ads, and they also help screen the clients on the front end, which, as any experienced lawyer knows, sometimes takes a lot of hours and manpower. And there's lots of other benefits too that you'll hear about today, meeting other lawyers in and outside of your practice area. You also get to work, if you want to, with lower income residents of Houston with legal needs. There is a quasi pro bono aspect to HLRS, even though it is a paid rate. Depending on how you want to set up your referral system, you can really help folks in need here in the Houston area. There's also a wide variety of law areas that HLRS covers. I think there's 37 or over 35 areas of law. And I'll touch on that in a minute on how that differs at some of the areas of law differs for its members. So how do you become a member? Another important aspect. You pay an annual due. It's between $175 and $350. And that number depends on your years of practice. So for younger lawyers, that's more closer to the 175 number. You get a discount if you're also a member of HYLA or HBA, which are great memberships in addition to HLRS. And so you pay an annual due and then you're a member. But what happens as far as how you get a referral service, that would depend on your practice area and your experience as a lawyer. So one of the non-negotiables of HLRS, just out of the gates, is that for people who are requesting a referral, so a Houstonian or the greater Houston area, someone who has a legal issue and puts in their request for a referral to HLRS, if they match up with the lawyer, one of the non-negotiables is a 30-minute session for $20 max. Okay, so it's a set $20 fee, 30 minutes. And that's one of the real perks to this for both sides. It allows the lawyer to kind of vet the case on the front end and use their expertise to kind of give that initial recommendation that so many people want when they are having a legal issue. And it's also fair, it's relatively cheap for the potential client. After that, the client can be retained if the lawyer wants to retain the client for normal rates, and that can range between $200 and $400 an hour. Again, there's nuances to that depending on the practice area. And then as a member, one of the other things you do is that you give a monthly status report, kind of status of the cases that have come to you. And HLRS gets a cut of the fees that you make from your client. Now, out of that initial $20, 15 of it goes to HLRS. That is a big part of the HLRS system remaining in that key administrative hub and doing the good work that it does to get you the clients you want. But once you get into your normal rate, if you retain the client, it's just a relatively small percentage, between 0 if it's a lower rate case and 15% is a higher rate case, and the percentage can vary. And so that would be a percent of your hourly rate that you give to HLRS for that referral and the work that it does. I'll just touch on a few last things here that I mentioned the practice areas and some, such as, probate law that requires that the members, in order to get a referral, you have to meet certain criteria. And that's on the website, and folks can speak more about that today. And that, the criteria is about your years of experience and also, kind of hours in the courtroom. It depends on the practice area. But one of the things to remember is that that's not true for every practice area. And that one of the benefits of HLRS is that for young lawyers, given the administrative cost that HLRS is covering for you, if you're willing to take a slightly, lower rate, more in that lower 200 to 250 range, there's a lot of cases that can come to your plate that you can take on and just start building your practice. And then that would open up doors down the road to some of the more, stricter criteria areas for good reason that require some experience, and that kind of keeps a healthy caseload with experienced lawyers who know what they're doing in those specific areas. I should mention that HLRS does not cover just Harris County. It covers also Fort Bend, Montgomery, Galveston, Brazoria counties. There are a lot of members that have solo or practices of 2 or 3 lawyers max. And so it's a great community of lawyers. There are between 110 and 150 members, depending on the time. But that includes newer members, and HLRS is very much open to newer members getting involved. It's a good way to start building your practice. I think some of the stats we have is that your average member, and this varies greatly, but your average member, I think, makes between 10 and 20,000 a year from HLRS. But as I said, you can imagine that going up if you want to make the most of your experience with HLRS, or if it's a small portion of your business, then it's not very much. So, take that with a grain of salt, but that is one of the data points I can give you. And that one of the key things with Karen Ramsey, who you see here on your screen, she is really the one who runs everything. She knows a lot more than any of us about the day-to-day of HLRS. And you can work with Karen and Karen's staff as a member of HLRS to make sure that you're getting the types of referrals that you want. And that's, a trial and error process sometimes, but it's important to have back and forth with Karen's team. And Karen is the person who you would reach out to become a member. You can go on the website of HLRS.org and get an application there through PDF and submit it. You can also email Karen Ramsey at KRAMSEY, so KRamsey@HLRS.org. That's her email. And you can get in touch with her there to ask follow-up questions or to become a new member. I'm sure there's a lot that I have not covered, but hopefully that gives you an idea of what HLRS is about. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Colin, for the helpful overview before we get started with our panel. And from here, I'd like to start by introducing each of our panel members and ask them to share a bit about where they practice, their practice area or areas, how long they've been practicing, and specifically how long they've been with the referral service. Jonathan, would you start us off?
Sure, thanks, Brooksie. Jonathan Sykes. I'm I have a general civil practice in Northwest Houston, kind of Jersey Village, Cypress area. I joined HLRS when I started my practice about 24 years ago. And they send me referrals for real estate cases, estate planning, probate, guardianship, family, small business, and also bankruptcy. Okay. You say, well, geez, this guy, is practicing a little bit everything. Well, I guess we'll get into the Q&A, but the lawyer referral service, as Colin pointed out, has a broad number of areas of law that they refer people in. And when I started my practice, why I joined HLRS was, I started right out of law school. Okay, I was told I couldn't do that, and here we are 24 years later doing that. But the lawyer referral service was one of the ways to generate some clients, of course, when you're starting out on your own and nobody knows your name, right, except your family or friends and what have you. So that's why we joined, and we've stayed with them over 24 years. Karen does a marvelous job as director. Always accessible when there's, odd things that come up along the way. She's got an odd little administrative thing that we're dealing with right now at the post office, but very accessible and very easy to work with.
Gagan, would you please go next?
Sure. My name is Gagan Khan. I am an attorney. I'm the principal at my own firm, which goes by GK Law. I started as a solo practitioner, and now we're a small law firm. In our practice area is primarily business and real estate, both litigation and transactional side. I started, I've been practicing for almost 8 years, and I've been a member of the Houston Lawyer Referral Service for the full 8. I joined the referral service about 2 months after I passed the bar and got licensed, and I've been with them since. I had, just to give you an idea of why I joined, a friend of mine recommended it. I had just come out of passing the bar, and I just started my own practice. And when you start your own practice, you don't know where to market, what practice areas you want to practice, and then you kind of sometimes don't have the marketing dollars to put into marketing. And a friend recommended it, and I joined it. And the Houston Lawyer Referral Service has been pretty instrumental in sending business from the get-go. And so I've been a member for 8 years, and I plan to continue to be with them.
And our third panelist, Judge Fran Watson.
Hi, everyone. My name is Fran Watson, and I'm the principal owner of F. Watson Law PLLC, which is a general practice with a focus on probate and guardianship. I've been practicing for 11 years, and I am actually one of the new members to HLRS. I joined in May, and the reason I ended up joining is because I had a solo practice for a while, and then I ended up partnering with someone. They were elected, they ended up becoming elected judge. So then I was back on my own again. And so then during that time, I decided that I needed to kind of rebrand, change some things around. And so I started looking for referral services. I had joined one referral service a while back, but it was not good. And so I went to the Texas bar, and they said that Houston had one. Houston had something, so they didn't have a referral service. So I ended up looking, and I found HRLS, and I filled out everything, got in touch with Karen. Karen was amazing, especially with the onboarding. And so I've been here since, I think, May, Karen? So yes, that's me.
And while you have the floor, can you tell some of our prospective members a little bit more about the onboarding and application process and what that might look like for them?
Yes, so once I went to the website to find out, how to join, I filled out the application. There was information that I needed to give. And as Jonathan said, or as Mr. President Pogge said, that there are some extra steps you have to take if you're trying to seek probate and guardianship. And so once I filled out the application, it was a pretty lengthy application, because they want to know how many cases that you've done, how many cases have you taken to trial, how many guardianships had I done, how many estate plans had I done, not only simple estates, but how many large complex estates I had done. And so after doing that, then Karen reached out to me, and I was able to give her my certificate of standing from the Texas bar. I was able to give her a copy of my malpractice insurance declaration. And then we spent about an hour on Zoom, and she was letting me know about the process, taking me through checking to see what types of practice areas that I would be involved in. Also letting me know about the consultation fee, how that works. And then we really going through to see what would happen once you log in, because there is a separate space where you would log your hours, where you would find out where your clients are coming from. How do you report? When do you need to report? Because you do this reporting once a month. And so that really is just training, getting to know more about the organization, finding out about the membership cost. And then after that, once we were able to get everything to her, she confirmed that she had everything. Then I just sat and waited for some referrals, and then I got my first emails.
And perhaps going back to Gagan, what does it look like when you receive a potential referral from HLRS?
Sure. So it's very simple, and Houston Lawyer Referral Service has now streamlined it. So the process of, let's talk about reporting that Fran was just talking about. It's quite simple. You go on a website and you report the clients you got. But as far as getting the calls, it's simple as well. You get a call, you get an email followed by a call. The rule with the referral service is that you're supposed to wait for the client to contact you, because that's within the ethical boundaries. The client contacts you, makes the first contact. We then schedule the 30-minute consultation that is at $20, which most people love that. It's a very small price to pay, almost the price of a burger. And we do the consultation, and then we decide whether this is whether the client likes us, and this is a case that we can serve the client on, and we just take the case. At the end of the case, we do the reporting, which is the monthly reporting, or you can just wait until the end of the case. You go on the Houston Lawyer Referral Service website, you have a dashboard set up, and you report how much time you spent on the case and the numbers and things like that. So it is pretty simple.
So you essentially get a heads up via email or phone call and then sit and wait.
Absolutely. We get a heads up, and in the heads up, we get the client information and we get some notes as to the type of case that the client has. So it gives us a pretty good idea even before that potential client calls as to their legal issue. And so it does give us a heads up. It gives us some preliminary information, such as their name, contact information, and then it gives us a little bit about their legal problem.
Have you lately been doing a lot of your initial consultations via Zoom, or have you gotten back to some in-person meetings?
We switched. We are still doing all our consultations on Zoom or through the phone. Both of those work just like an in-person consultation. It's been very effective, at least for our practice. We do the 30-minute consult, we schedule it, and just call them or do it on Zoom. And through the sequence of our consultation, try to assess the client case. And I would say that there's been no change in the way our consultations have happened or in the end results because we're doing it through Zoom or doing it through phone.
Jonathan, how do you normally field your first consultations when you get a new referral?
Well, of course, as Gagan pointed out, we get the email, and not every referral that the lawyer referral service sends us is going to call us. I should point out that as part of their screening, one of the nice things about the referral service is you tend to get folks that are geographically desirable. So I'm in Northwest Houston, so we ask when folks do call us, if they do call us, are you in Northwest Houston? And every once in a while we get somebody from down Brazoria County or wherever, and they make the choice whether they're going to come see us. Now we tend to have most of our consultations in person. I just prefer to meet with people in person if possible. Obviously, we have the technology, we have the pandemic, and so we've adapted to that as needed. But we always ask first if folks are able to come to our office, and of course, by qualifying if they're in Northwest Houston, we already know if they're going to be fairly close or not. Now, if they're calling us from California or Minnesota, I had a guy in here yesterday from Minnesota. We had the consultation on Zoom, and he had reason to have to be in Houston, so I actually met him yesterday. He was here. We tend to have them here. Now, I will add that when we do a video consultation, maybe it's a little too much CYA. I'll be interested maybe in Gagan or Fran's comments. But we always have them sign something before we have a video consultation saying, I know this is just a video consultation. You're not my lawyer unless we sign an attorney-client agreement. Gagan or Fran or Karen, do you have any comments on that? Because that's just something we've defaulted to, but I don't know if there's a better way to handle that.
We haven't quite done any signed forms. And so far we haven't had any concerns for not having signed forms from clients. So yeah, we haven't implemented that yet.
For me, when they sign, because most of my firm has been virtual even before the pandemic. So when they fill out the intake form, it has that information, and it says, by checking this box, you understand. And so that's how it is.
Beautiful.
Karen, does HLRS have any types of sample or model forms to help with these types of issues? Or is that on the attorney receiving the potential referral to take care of?
Usually leave everything up to the attorney. We do have some guidelines where when you have an engagement letter, you need to let them know that because they came from the Houston Lawyer Referral Service, that HLRS is entitled to see the file and know the outcome of the case, and because the attorney is going to be reporting that. So we do want them to have that, but we don't have any set way it needs to be. We try to step out of the attorney's way of practicing their business portion of their practice and just try to help them get the referrals. But it's wonderful what Mr. Sykes said, because when he tells me, Mr. Sykes is a great communicator, and so is Fran and Gagan are fantastic too. Not everybody on the referral service is a good communicator, so they don't always share information with me. The more you share with me, the more I understand your practice and the more referrals you can get. But by Mr. Sykes sharing, because he shared that with me before. So if someone has a question, I can say, well, one of our members does this, and usually the members are really kind, and they will talk with any other member if somebody has, especially younger attorneys, younger members who just don't know. And like Mr. Sykes is he predates me for being on the service. So
I think I predate everybody.
I would call Mr. Sykes and be like, hey, I have somebody.
I just look bad for being 37, I'm telling you.
You've had a hard life, right?
Well, I have, but that's another story.
So we really do try to step out of the way and let them do their own thing, but we encourage them to call us, let us know what they're doing. Anytime you change anything in your practice, we want to know about it. And the more we know about you as an attorney, the more we can help you.
Yeah. And I wanted to add a little bit to it, like to what Karen was saying, that the Houston Lawyer Referral Service lets us practice the way we want to practice and gets involved in certain matters. But those are really important. For example, there's a requirement to carry insurance, which I think is very good for us and it protects us. And in the 8 years that I've been with them, I've had one incident where somebody had a complaint and they called the referral service. I contacted Karen, provided all the documentation, and that issue was resolved. So the referral service is there when you need them, but you kind of practice the way you want to practice with the clients.
Yeah, I do want to add one thing, Brooksie. This is really important.
Of course.
When a client and an attorney have a disagreement, I've noticed that because I'm in the middle and they call me to get the referral, they'll usually call me to complain about the attorney. And 99% of the time, it's something that the attorney tried to communicate to the client and the client just doesn't understand. And then when I said, okay, I'll find out what's going on. I contact the lawyer because we have a policy. If we get any complaint, I'm going to contact you. I'm going to tell you everything that they said. And then I want you to let me know your side. And 99% of the time, it's just they need to hear it from another person. And when they hear it from me, they're like, oh, well, now I understand. So it's I'm a good mediator with clients who just don't understand. Sometimes I know when you're by yourself in a practice, and then they, for some reason, they just don't understand. They can always call us, and I'll work with both parties to make sure everybody's happy.
I was about to say, Karen Ramsey, Executive Director and Mediator. Colin was able to share some data points, for example, about an average amount that our members realize financially each year. And not digging too much into your firm's finances, but starting with our most senior member, can you share some perhaps about how many clients on average you see per year as successful referrals from HLRS?
I wish I had that metric. As I was saying in the preliminaries, you think a guy with an MBA would have better metrics on this. I'm going to defer that to Karen. I do know that we have a regular, steady stream of referrals from the Lawyer Referral Service. And, a lot of them are just folks that if they meet with us, just need kind of a nudge in the right direction. I mean, I could convert them into clients, if we had time to do it, basically. or if I felt that was the right thing to do. But a lot of times folks just, you're dealing with the public. And this is actually one of the things I like about the lawyer referral service, depending on why you became a lawyer. If you're looking to make $1 million a year, you're probably, partner at Porter Hedges. But, if your goal for being a lawyer was possibly you wanted to contribute something to, the general society, that's one of the benefits you're going to get from the referral service. You'll get folks and, I'm just going to pay the referral fee, the $15, and off they go. But there's a number of folks, as you do the filtering, you say, that's a pretty good case. And so we have, I'm sure we have several cases going right now that came to us from the referral service, and, they're pretty meaty cases with some very complex legal issues involved, of course, and you have to qualify, hey, can you pay me? But that goes with, any part of somebody practicing for themselves.
Judge Watson, what's been your initial experience with the program?
So my initial experiences, I've already seen an uptick. I think as Jonathan was talking about, being able to kind of filter through and listen to, not everyone that has contacted me has become a client. However, it has been a way to, give this advice. And sometimes people just needed to know, for instance, some of the work that I do is on the consumer law side. And sometimes people were calling and they wanted to file, one person wanted to file some charges and do some things about something that happened to them. And so during that call, we were able to, I was able to discuss with them what happens if we went the civil route, what happens if you contact certain organizations. And so they were able to make up their mind and think about what options that they had. And so they ended up not becoming a client, but they did have an avenue where they can find some resolution to their issue just during that consultation. And I've now had, like I said, I've only been here since May, but I do have 4 clients from the referral services that are now clients and that we're working on cases. So far my experiences, I guess it's been a very good experience, and again, it helps with that going into being able to kind of give back, because I do volunteer with Houston Volunteer Lawyers, and in this regard, I'm able to kind of give back and still have this reduced rate that comes with it.
Gagan, has your experience been similar or different in terms of what type of moving in referrals that you convert to clients?
My experience is similar. So I remember about 8 years ago when I went to meet Karen the first time, and that's when I just signed up, and Karen said, your phone's going to start to ring today in the afternoon. And I kid you not, it started to ring in the afternoon. I'd given my cell phone number because I didn't have an extra line at the time. I didn't have an office number. So it was ringing. And my experience was just like Fran's, where you get a lot of calls. And at that time, it was great because I didn't know what practice area I wanted to practice in. And so I started to take clients in different practice areas. I was even taking traffic tickets, and it was just fun. I was running to traffic court and doing traffic tickets for, I think, $50 a ticket or something. And so it was great. But I'll tell you this, over the years, we started to decide what practice areas we want to niche into, which has been business and real estate. And now we're just focusing on business and real estate. And now we're also getting repeat clients who were our former clients who came through the referral service. And Colin's number was accurate maybe in the first 5 years. But like Jonathan was saying, we've definitely had some other clients who have bigger, more complex cases. And we've had a higher fee from those clients. And so you kind of gradually start to build your practice. And through these clients who come through the referral service, at first you take the little cases and then you start to get bigger cases, more complex cases, and you definitely get some higher paying clients, more sophisticated, higher paying clients through the referral service.
When you are fortunate enough to get either a repeat client or a referral from a client that you had first received from HLRS, do you owe a second referral fee?
My understanding is if it's related to the first case, you do owe a referral fee. If it's a completely new matter, you don't owe a referral fee. And Karen, tell me if I'm wrong, but that is my understanding.
That is correct. So if you have someone come back to you and it's not directly related, and usually it's not, because if it was directly related, you would have handled it then. So it's you know, my example that I give to people is they're on the way to your office to see you for a divorce, and they get in a car accident, and you also do car accidents. And they want to hire you for their car accident also. It's because that you earned their business. So you're going to, and then also, even if you don't have a client, they call you for a real estate matter, and then you speak to them, you're kind to them, you give them, you know, a little bit of advice or show them a little bit of attention, which is not something anyone does. HLRS does that. So, and then HLRS members do that. Then they will tend to call you back if you say something like, well, if you ever have any other legal needs, give me a call. And then they feel like, oh, I can call them. And that's another bit of advice I give people when we speak. Always invite the person you're speaking to. Call me back if you have any other questions or any legal concerns. And it just, you'll be amazed how much return business you would have when you invite people to call you back. But it's not, you don't have to pay us if you earned a client, that's your client for life. You only have to pay us on that one referral, or if it's related. Closely, very closely related.
And if you have any doubts, just email Karen and you'll get an email back in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So
Yes, you will. And it's there. I mean, talk about the communication, and it's so great. I said, oh my goodness, this is wonderful.
Something I think would be helpful to hear is perhaps some success stories of cases that you've taken from inception to resolution that you have, of course, received from HLRS. Jonathan, do any cases come to mind for you?
You know, I don't really segregate it out in my mind too much like that, but I think there was one that sticks out that it was a bankruptcy case. And so we ended up doing a Chapter 13 bankruptcy for these folks. And about 3 years into the bankruptcy, which was a little challenging to even get it ready and get it approved in the first place. The husband, this is a couple, the husband got seriously ill. And so we, had to try and see if maybe there's a way we could get a hardship discharge. If any of you know about hardship discharges, they're not too easy to get. And I actually hadn't done one by that point. So, required a fair amount of research, what have you. And Judge Jones graciously approved it for these folks. And, the lady, she was just crying as, we're leaving the courthouse. I mean, hopefully we all have clients as, people who work for ourselves that, you don't see if you're in a different work environment. But when you have an impact on somebody's life, it was such a relief, for them that had an impact on their life. It was very satisfying to me, made me feel like I was, actually helping somebody out there, got paid for it. And, my staff was very affected because I knew how much it meant to that family. But, when you're in practice 24 years, you've got a lot of cases, a lot of stories. Fran and Gagan have, similar, experiences, different types of cases, I'm sure. But that's one that stands out. That's what makes me feel good about being a lawyer and, you know, make a decent living. But, you know, if you're thinking about you'd like to go work for yourself, lawyer referral service is one of the arrows in your quiver you can, you know, use to get your pump primed. And as Gagan pointed out, then you just build your practice from there. And you know, Fran will have this experience too, or you know, you'll have referrals, people come back to you. So it's a good pump primer if you're thinking about starting your own practice.
Gagan, do any memorable cases come to mind for you?
Yes, I do. So the very first case I got, it's memorable for me, and I think one of the great benefits of being part of the referral service is that you get the opportunity to work on cases and then work with other attorneys on cases. So the very first case I got was an out-of-state person who had been sued in Texas for defamation, and it was a multi-party case. There were 3 different attorneys and 3 different parties, and I was one of them. And that case went all the way up to trial, and at trial we won on the defamation. But it's been memorable for me because it was my very first case, almost my very first time in a courtroom, and I was in the presence of multiple attorneys, and I could see their styles, the way they handle it. I could learn from them, and we kind of helped each other out. They helped me with some of my things. It was kind of a very collegial culture, unless you were opposing counsel. And so it was quite memorable. And my client was a resident of Florida, and so he had been caught by surprise by being sued here in Texas. And so it was memorable. It's not only memorable, but I think it was a success story when we won for him. And you know, he's super excited that he didn't have a judgment here in Texas.
And Judge Watson, I realize you may not have had any successful resolutions quite yet, as being one of our newest members in the service, but perhaps this is a great opportunity to expand on some things that you have seen so far and what you've been able to do.
Yeah, I was just thinking about how Gagan and Jonathan, I'm listening to these stories. I was like, well, I haven't gotten there just yet, but but it's inspiring to know that, you know, just continuing to build this and I can get there. Right now, I have a couple of cases that one, the person, I will just say the client contacted so many attorneys in the area. They're from back in East Texas. And so that was the second referral I got. And they contacted all these lawyers. The lawyers, you know, said, you have a great case, but we don't do it. They said, you know what, you just need to contact Houston. You need to contact Houston. So the client found the referral service, and then the case was sent to me. And at this point, the person purchased a vehicle to go on a cross-country trip with their disabled child. And it was this whole issue. And now, because the client was able to get something, we're moving towards settlement. So we should have this case settled within the next couple of weeks. I mean, there was all of this documentation, and I'm so proud of this client for having all this documentation. So we were able to step in and opposing counsel. This client is in East Texas, opposing counsel's in Austin, and all of this is happening, but now one lives out of state. It's a whole thing. But with all this time and space, we're still able to get this settled. So I'm really proud of that. And the other one is a divorce case. I don't know how, with this one, the respondent is in Florida. And so now we're dealing with that. But I think we're on our way to settlement. We're scheduled for some mediation. So it looks like that we're about to get some things settled.
Well, it's interesting to know, and I feel a common theme throughout all of your shared stories is that HLRS is a hub for out-of-state people to search for a local lawyer. It's not necessarily just limited to the Houston area, Harris County and the surrounding counties, but it seems like a great resource to get those who aren't from around here plugged in when they need help in our geographic area. At this point, I'd love to invite those attendees at the program to submit any questions that they may have through the Zoom Q&A feature. And as a final question to our panelists, I would just like to know what you think is the best benefit for a young lawyer who may be looking to join HLRS if they take that next step. Gagan?
Sure. Well, so there's the obvious tangible benefit that you start to earn revenue, and then you have revenue to put back into your practice and grow it. But there are a lot of intangibles. One of the big intangibles for me has been that it has opened doors to other things. I have met other attorneys who have been co-counsel or represented other parties. I have worked with other attorneys. They have referred other business to me. I've also, because now I'm part of the Houston Lawyer Referral Service, I also get to be a part of the Houston Bar Association, and then you get to do some pro bono work from time to time. I've participated in clinics and classes and done pro bono work, which is pretty gratifying because you get to give back. And then the other benefit is that with the Houston Lawyer Referral Service, you don't have to do the marketing, they do it for you. And you don't have to pick a practice area. They give you the practice areas or the clients who have issues in those practice areas. You just tell them. They do all the market for you, generate the leads for you, and they send you the clients. So there's, I think those are some very big benefits, and most of them intangible apart from the tangible benefit that there is.
Jonathan?
Okay, I would echo a lot of what Gagan just said. And I would maybe just add this. Some people, there's a lot of people who might like to work for themselves for a variety of reasons. You know, I did 10 years in corporate America, you know, oil and environmental industry, not as an attorney. And, you know, at various times, oh man, I wish, you know, I just could work for myself. So if that's part of the psyche of anybody in the audience, that maybe they just like to kind of call their own shots and select their clients and do the kind of work that they'd like to do and build a good practice down the road, well, you know, the lawyer referral service is one of those tools you can use so that you can at least get your light bill paid, you know, your first year in practice. And, you know, then of course it's up to you and what kind of work you're doing, and do people like what you did, and you know, are they going to come back to you for future legal needs or send their family or friends? But you know, it's a starter. You know, going out on your own, if anybody's thinking about making that plunge, you know, Fran is in that process right now. You know, that first year or two can be a bit of a challenge. But Fran's doing it, Gagan did it, you know, I did it, and so many other folks have done it. So you might be able to do it too. And HRLS can at least get, you know, your light bill paid and maybe more, you know, over the years. I'd just like to add, in case I don't get a chance to bring this up later as well. You know, what we do is if we can't help somebody calls us maybe on, they need you know, an attorney for a criminal charge, and they need a defense attorney. We don't do it. So, you know, what I always try to do is say, I can't help you, but I'm going to give you the number to the Houston Lawyer Referral Service. So whether you're a member of the Lawyer Referral Service or not, whatever you end up, you know, doing on your journey, keep in mind if somebody calls you or you're at a cocktail party and, you know, I don't do that, you know, keep that Lawyer Referral Service number handy, so you can give it to people, and, you know, they probably going to get matched up with a competent attorney.
And Judge Watson, any closing thoughts on what particular benefits the program offer to young lawyers specifically?
Yeah, I would just co-sign everything that Gagan and Jonathan was saying. And I would also say that, you know, I've been practicing law for 11 years, and I think that we do our CLEs every year. We do everything that we need to do to make sure that we stay current up on the law. As we all talked about earlier, sometimes these cases do not materialize, the people don't materialize as clients. However, it does make sure that you continue with your skill set and building on that when you're doing these consultations, when you're contacting folks, and when you're, you know, having these conversations and these meetings. And so I think that really helps with that, to make sure. I've done so many consultations now, and so it's now I get a little opportunity to sometimes reflect on some processes and some processes that can be put in place. It's also, it's helped me once I joined the referral service. There were some mechanics that I worked on when it came to my intake process, and it had me think about some of the ways that can make it more efficient. I feel like that the referral service has done that. So I believe that getting your lights paid the first year, making sure that, you know, getting a little bit more money later, ensuring that you are having this, you know, as Gagan said, making sure that you're able to connect with people, network, be a part of other organizations and opportunities. I think that's something, but I also think it can help with how your client communications as well.
Yeah. If I could just add to that, I believe, and I think everybody says that there's no better way to practice law than just to practice it. And so the Houston Lawyer Referral Service gives you that opportunity. I started with traffic tickets and criminal cases. I don't practice criminal, but I got the opportunity to dabble into all of that, figure out how the criminal courts work, how the judges think and how they react, and rules of civil procedure and things like that. You just learn a whole lot, and you just, by getting these small cases or these cases from the referral service, and the referral service just keeps sending you the cases. So it's a great way to learn the practice of law.
Well, thank you to each of our panelists sincerely for joining us for this program. And of course, to Karen and Colin for their institutional knowledge and overview about the Houston Lawyer Referral Service.